Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dalton Rutlinger, and welcome to my first video on YouTube. I'm starting off with The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion because it's a game that I know pretty well, except we are doing a modded playthrough of Oblivion. We're actually going to be doing a role-playing playthrough of Oblivion. This series is going to be somewhat inspired by Sorcerer Dave's Idris playthrough. I have quite a few mods installed. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the Better Cities mods to work, but I hope what I have can actually kind of make up for that loss. The character we are playing as is a Breton named Jessica. Now, I'm not that familiar with Elder Scrolls lore, so I don't really know how the names work. I just kind of went with a character that I thought looked somewhat semi-decent attractive, and just kind of came up with a fitting name for her. I mean, she just looks like a Jessica. So yeah. So that's pretty much our character. I'm going to go ahead and go into her backstory now. This first video, I'm going to record in segments. I think YouTube doesn't allow people to upload more than 10-minute videos whenever they're first starting out, so these first few videos are probably going to be fairly short, but once I get past that threshold, I'll probably start making videos, you know, half an hour long or whatever, which hopefully at some point I start getting some subscribers. I do have a stutter, I want to point out. I've had a stutter pretty much my entire life, and it's probably not going to go away anytime soon, so you will find me stuttering quite hilariously from time to time, and it's going to happen probably somewhat often. So I'm sorry if that annoys you, but that's pretty much how I am. I can't fix it. So before we kind of get into the character, for those of you who do not know, I'm going to explain what role-playing is. Role-playing is you're basically trying to live the life of your character, which means that I, as a player, will not do things that Jessica herself would not do. So I'm going to try and kick any player knowledge that I have about the game just kind of to the curb. I do have unique landscapes installed, which is going to make things quite a bit more interesting because I've never really played with unique landscapes. I've seen a couple of playthroughs with them, but those playthroughs were years ago, and I've probably forgotten everything about the what the mod had to offer. So yeah, keep that in mind. Looks like I still need to do a little bit of work with Jessica, but I'll do that off screen. So what is Jessica's backstory? Why is she coming to Cyrodiil? Well, it's kind of a long story. Jessica's family was actually fairly powerful in terms of shipping routes. They owned a shipping company that was becoming fairly popular among trade routes and stuff like that. They sold things at prices that other companies just couldn't match, and they were rising the ranks of the upper class fairly quickly. However, Jessica was never very interested in that. Instead, she was more focused on learning about magic. She had always been able to cast all kinds of spells from a very, very young age, and she would rather focus her time and attention on learning how to cast fireballs from her hands, learning how to breathe underwater, how to walk on water, how to fly through the air, so on and so forth. And she didn't really care much about the company. It was never really much of her interest. She would rather focus on her magic as opposed to focusing on how to manage money and run a business, because magic could get her all kinds of things in the future that her company just could not. And for the most part, her parents were fine with this. They were a little wary of her spending so much time studying magic, but They were somewhat powerful spellcasters themselves, so they didn't really have any neglects to it. However, there came a day when all this changed. Jessica's father got into contact with an old colleague who had also started up his own trading company. They had unintentionally been rivaling for a while, and the two fathers of the families decided it was time to try and strengthen their hold on the shipping routes. So the two struck up deals that could lead them to become very, very large and powerful corporations, basically untouched or untouchable by the smaller businesses. And that's kind of what led Jessica here today. You see, in order for this whole thing to happen, Jessica would have to marry into the other families, or, you know, marry into the other family and marry their son. However, after spending some time with the guy and learning more about him and getting to know him, Jessica was not a fan of the other family's son. She wanted nothing to do with him. He was abusive to her, he would molest her, he would do all kinds of things to her that she wasn't comfortable with. And he didn't seem like he was really going to go anywhere in life. He didn't really spend any time studying on anything. He didn't spend any time learning how to at least manage money or how to manage a business. So Jessica was not very fond of this guy that she was supposed to marry. Which she was going to have no say in the matter. It was going to be an arranged marriage. And Jessica, being a female, she ultimately had no choice or say in the matter, whether she liked it or not. No matter how often she pleaded with her father or her mother, she ultimately had no say in the matter, just for the simple fact that she was a woman. So after weeks, if not months, of trying to convince her father to not make her go through with this, Jessica kind of ran out of options. She didn't see any other option other than to just pack up and leave. So she grabbed whatever valuables that she could and made her way down to the docks and took the first boat out of High Rock, which happened to be this boat taking her to Anvil and Cyrodiil. Jessica has never really studied that much about Cyrodiil. She knows the very bare basics, like it's the seat of the Imperials and it's the capital of Tamriel and that it's where the Emperor lives and so on and so forth. However, her knowledge is extremely limited of the province. She's more familiar with High Rock because she was, you know, born and raised there. She was more familiar with the territory. But Cyrodiil, she knows next to nothing about. Just some very basic history lessons here and there. Like I said, I'm not that familiar with the Elder Scrolls lore, so I'm not, you know, gonna be that accurate whenever it comes to certain things like this. Like, I could just be making random things up, and I mean, who's really gonna care, I guess, but role-playing. So yeah, now Jessica has been on this ship for, let's just say, a good couple of weeks now. 3 going on 4 weeks, potentially. I don't know how long it takes for ships to travel from place to place in the Elder Scrolls. But let's just assume she's been on the ship for a while, kind of like how it would be in real life. As she's been on the ship, Jessica has started to kind of second-guess herself. She's wondering if what she actually did was the correct move. I mean, she just gave up a life that could earn her millions and millions of septims if she really, really wanted it. And she's also starting to grow a little paranoid, for lack of a better term. She's starting to grow scared of her own shadow because she's starting to wonder what her parents are going to do. Are they going to send bounty hunters after her? Are they going to send mercenaries to track her down? She doesn't know. Her parents were fairly wealthy. They weren't anywhere near the top of the totem pole whenever it comes to wealth and politics, but they were fairly wealthy. They were probably mid-tier in the upper societal classes.